Negotiation is everywhere. Whether you're closing a deal at work, buying a car, or even just agreeing on plans with friends, the ability to negotiate effectively can change your life. But here's the shocking part. According to studies, nearly 80% of people leave money on the table in negotiations, simply because they don't know how to negotiate well. Imagine losing out on thousands of dollars just because you didn't have the right skills. Did you know that just by changing how you talk or stand in a conversation, you can increase your chances of success by up to 50%? And it's not about being a smooth talker or having the best pitch. It's about mastering the science behind negotiation, understanding psychology, knowing when to be silent, and using strategies that most people don't even know exist. In this video, we're going to break down 6 powerful tactics that will help you negotiate like a pro. You'll learn how to turn a no into a maybe, how to use silence to your advantage, and why walking away could be your secret weapon. Whether you're a seasoned negotiator or just starting, these strategies will help you get what you want in any situation. Ready to take your negotiation skills to the next level? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Silent Strategy. The art of power pauses. Negotiation isn't just about talking. Sometimes it's about knowing when to stay silent. It sounds simple, but pausing strategically can have a profound impact. In fact, research shows that when you pause after making a statement, your counterpart is more likely to offer more information or make concessions. Silence can be an uncomfortable yet powerful tool. According to behavioral psychologist Dr. Albert Mehrabian, 93% of communication is nonverbal, meaning your pauses and body language speak volumes. When you leave a pause, it forces the other person to fill the gap. It's like a psychological nudge. They feel the need to say something, and often, they reveal their position or desires in an attempt to break the silence. This is where you can gain leverage. It's about controlling the pace of the conversation and guiding the direction. There's also a concept called the awkward silence effect. In a negotiation, if you're okay with being silent and patient, the other person might start to feel uneasy. That discomfort can lead them to agree more quickly, just to ease the tension. In fact, research from Harvard Business School shows that silence can make your counterpart feel the need to negotiate harder to win you over. A tip here. When you ask a question, wait. Don't rush to fill the gap with your own answer. Give your counterpart time to process, and you'll often hear more than you expect. Silence in the right moment is a subtle but powerful power play. But be cautious, don't overdo it. Too much silence can come across as aggressive or dismissive. The key is to balance your words with just enough pause to let them reflect on what you've said. Chapter 2. Framing your case. How to turn no into maybe. Have you ever faced a firm no in a negotiation? It's not the end, it's just the beginning. The art of framing is all about turning a rejection into an opportunity. Framing is about reshaping the way the other person perceives the conversation, so a no can become a maybe. In one study, researchers found that framing the same offer in a different way led to a 50% increase in agreement. That's huge. For example, instead of saying, "I need $500, try framing it as, "This is a great investment opportunity worth $500. By shifting the narrative, you make the offer seem more appealing and valuable. Framing also involves presenting your argument with context that benefits both parties. It's not about what you want but how you present the offer in terms that make it seem mutually beneficial. Think about the classic example of limited time offers in sales. You're framing urgency to get someone to act. But the same principle works in negotiations. Let's say you're negotiating a salary. Instead of focusing solely on your needs, frame it as an investment in your productivity. Say something like, "With this compensation, I'll be able to give my full dedication to delivering high-quality results, which ultimately benefits the company." This way, the focus shifts from just the salary to the value you bring. Incorporating framing into negotiations can also help overcome objections. For example, if someone says, "I can't agree to this price," you might reply, "I understand, but what if we found a way to adjust the terms so it benefits both sides?" This redirects the conversation toward finding a solution instead of focusing on the impasse. Chapter 3. Mind over matter. Psychological leverage to win every time. Understanding psychology is key to any successful negotiation. The power of psychological leverage can tilt the table in your favor. Take reciprocity, for instance. Humans have a natural tendency to return favors. This principle has been shown in countless studies, including one by Dr. Robert Cialdini, a leading expert on influence. When you give something small to someone, they often feel obligated to give something back. This concept is critical in negotiation. If you offer a concession early on, even if it's minor, the other party is more likely to return the favor with a concession of their own. For example, offering to help with a small part of the deal might prompt the other person to be more flexible with their terms. Scarcity is another psychological lever. People tend to value things that are scarce more highly. If you're negotiating a deal and you mention that your offer is only available for a limited time, the other party might feel a sense of urgency. This can push them to agree more quickly, even if they weren't initially sure. One powerful tactic is anchoring, where you start the negotiation with a high initial offer. This sets a reference point. In a study by behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman, it was shown that when people are presented with an anchor, they tend to base their judgments on that starting point, even if it's arbitrary. So, by setting a high starting point, you make the final agreement look more reasonable in comparison. Commitment and consistency are also key factors. Once someone makes a small commitment, they are more likely to follow through with a larger one. This is why, getting the foot in the door, with an initial minor agreement often leads to bigger successes down the road. By tapping into these psychological principles, you can nudge the conversation toward a favorable outcome. Leverage isn't just about knowledge, it's about understanding human behavior and using it to your advantage. Don't forget to subscribe. If you want more negotiation tips and tricks, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of this series. Chapter 4. The Mirror Effect. How to build instant rapport with anyone. Building rapport is a cornerstone of successful negotiation. One powerful tactic to quickly build trust is the art of mirroring. This involves subtly mimicking the body language, tone, and speech patterns of your counterpart. Studies have shown that people tend to like others who are similar to themselves, even if they don't consciously realize it. The more in sync you are, the more likely they are to see you as trustworthy. Mirroring goes beyond just copying gestures. It's about adopting the same rhythm of speech or even the words they use. For example, if someone speaks slowly and thoughtfully, you might match their pace. If they use specific phrases, incorporating those into your own responses creates an unconscious connection. It's a technique that works wonders because it helps your counterpart feel more at ease with you. In one study conducted by researchers at the University of Chicago, people who mirrored their conversation partners were rated as more likable and persuasive. That's the kind of effect you're going for. By mirroring, you're building instant rapport without saying much at all. It's the secret behind making people feel like they're talking to someone who truly understands them. But it's not just physical gestures or tone. You can mirror emotions too. If someone is excited about a topic, showing your enthusiasm can create an emotional bond. When you engage on an emotional level, you're more likely to build trust, which is essential in any negotiation. However, don't go overboard with it. The key is subtlety. If you mimic too obviously, it can feel like manipulation, and that can backfire. The goal is to create a natural flow of conversation that feels comfortable for both sides. Remember, rapport isn't built in a single move, it's about creating a connection over time, step by step. Chapter 5. Anchoring the deal. Set the stage for success from the start. The anchoring effect is one of the most powerful psychological tools in any negotiation. This strategy involves setting a reference point early in the conversation, which can dramatically influence the outcome. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that people tend to base their decisions around the first piece of information they receive, even if it's not entirely relevant. That first offer you make can anchor the entire negotiation. Let's say you're negotiating the price of a car. If you start by offering $30,000, even if that's higher than what you're willing to settle for, the final price will likely be closer to that anchor. People tend to adjust from the anchor point, often without realizing it. The first number sets a psychological bar, making everything else seem more reasonable. One example comes from a famous study by Richard Thaler, a Nobel-winning economist. He found that real estate agents who set higher initial asking prices for homes often ended up getting offers closer to that price. This happens because the initial figure sets expectations for what's reasonable. Anchoring is especially effective when you set the anchor in your favor. Starting with a high figure, or offering a high value, creates a perception that your final offer is a fair deal. The trick is to avoid starting too far off from reality, as that could backfire if the other party perceives your offer as unreasonable. One effective technique is to make an opening offer that leaves room for negotiation. Let's say you're negotiating a salary. If you aim for $60,000 but offer $70,000 up front, you'll likely end up somewhere around $60,000. The key is knowing where to start, so the final agreement feels like a compromise rather than a win for one party. The bottom line with anchoring is to use it strategically. If you can get your initial offer right, the rest of the conversation will likely unfold in your favor. The anchoring effect is about perception. Start strong, and your counterpart will view your deal as more balanced. Chapter 6. Walking away. The ultimate power move. One of the most underrated yet most powerful moves in any negotiation is the ability to walk away. It might sound counterintuitive, but having the confidence to walk away can often lead to better outcomes. The key is knowing your worth and having the strength to refuse a bad deal. Psychologically speaking, the fear of loss is often stronger than the desire for gain. This principle is known as loss aversion, and it's one of the core ideas in behavioral economics, as explained by Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. When you show that you're willing to walk away from a deal, the other party might perceive the potential loss of the deal as more significant than the benefits of continuing to negotiate. There's a famous negotiation tactic known as BATNA, or best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Knowing your BATNA is crucial. It's about having alternatives in place so that you're not stuck in a bad deal. If you walk into a negotiation knowing that you have other options, you're in a stronger position. When the other party senses that you don't need their deal, they may be more likely to improve their offer. In fact, research by Harvard's program on negotiation found that people who walked away from negotiations that didn't meet their needs were often able to secure better deals in follow-up meetings. By showing you're not desperate for a deal, you force the other party to reconsider their terms. Knowing when to walk away also shows that you respect your own value. It sends the message that you're not willing to accept anything less than what you deserve. When you walk away, you're not just rejecting an offer, you're asserting your boundaries and demonstrating confidence in what you bring to the table. But walking away isn't just about rejecting poor deals, it's also a technique that can give you more leverage. The very act of being willing to leave the table can sometimes prompt the other party to offer better terms to keep you at the table. The ultimate power move in negotiation is realizing that the deal isn't the only option. When you show that you're okay with walking away, you communicate that you know your worth. That confidence can be the deciding factor in securing a deal that works for you. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button for more powerful negotiation tactics that will help you master any deal.